Okay, welcome to the Foresight Scrolls Channel. It looks like on my OBS that this thing is really squished. Something's changed the aspect ratio, and I'm not sure what that is, but we're just going to roll with it. I'm assuming that you can still understand what I'm saying, and I'll check that out later. So this is the Foresight Scrolls Channel. We use the Foresight Scrolls, which is a suite of Tradingview Indicators to look at the markets. We check out the commodities, we check out stocks, we check out cryptocurrencies, so on and so forth. Normally we lead the night out by looking at the S&P 500. Specifically, we look at the SPY ETF. Last night we pointed out that we have a premonition symbol here, and the way that this thing works, if you're new to the game, is that we get a premonition and then we get confluence long spell, and that tells us which direction the market is going to go. Now, we really feel like this is a strong indicator suite, and we think you can see that. If you're interested in it, you can go to the foresightscrolls.com. You can ask questions here clearly in the chat. You can go to the Discord and ask questions. We would love to have you hop in the chat at any time. If you want us to look at anything specific, any other symbol that we're not looking at tonight, we'd be happy to take a look at that. And we've been looking at the S&P 500 for quite a few weeks now, over a month now. I think we launched roughly over a month ago. We've been tracking this thing. In this up channel, we called the top, which is really cool. We called this bounce, which is really cool. You can see right here that it still blows my mind how surgical some of these prices can get with some technical analysis and the Foresight Suite. Because we can see we had a short right here that was money. We had a long right here that was money. If you knew technical analysis, and you may have taken that was money. And now we're back into a premonition. We had this on the 4-hour chart. So yesterday or the day before, Nvidia had earnings today, and we're going to get into Nvidia at the end of the show tonight. It is the largest by market cap stock out there. The market tends to follow where it goes. It beat on earnings again, which I don't think is. I don't really think that anyone was surprised by that. Now, the important thing to know is that just because it beat on earnings and we see the stock market, look at what happened after hours here. This thing bounced after hours. Let's see, it's already up 1.25%. Now, if you've watched the show at all, what you know is we have an indicator called the flow of time, which is our trend indicator here. And if you watched last night or the night before, possibly the night before, what you know is this blue line here is our line in the sand. It's if the market is intermediate to macro, short or long. And whenever we have a rollover of this purple wave and the blue line crosses it, and we'd said this last night and the night before, generally we have a bounce right back into it to test it. And if it completes the cross and the price isn't able to break that resistance, then it's downtime again. So we see this playing out exactly like we think. Using the Foresight Suite, we see a breakdown. We see it looks like we're getting a rollover. I'm sure we'll get a long spell here. Although this price action moved up so fast on the Nvidia news today, we may hit it and just chop around in here for a few days. But it went up so fast that I'm curious if we might see it run into resistance and then go into an immediate sell-off. Now, you know that there's some Jeffrey Epstein news, and the markets seem to follow the news, even though it's If you've been around trading for a while, or you've been around the stock market for a while, you probably recognize that the news is just sort of a mask that the market wears, and the news really doesn't affect the market so much as the market is happening in the way that it's happening, and the news stories tend to go right along with it. There's, just proof in the pudding right here. Given that this has been in this up channel for so long, and you could short this, long this, short these midlines, long the bottom, so on and so forth. Given that the fact that this thing broke down and came up here and just surgically touched this underbelly, which is a resistance at this point, and comes down, it generally you'll have, whenever you have a sell-off, you'll have something in the news that will attempt to save the market. So some good news once you have this like bloody downside, this blood in the streets, as they say. So you'll have some good news. In the past couple of days, it's been they're going to release, or there's been a vote on releasing the Jeffrey Epstein files, and now Nvidia has their positive earnings. We have this pop, and coincidentally, and this is the part that I really want to point out here. I know I'm going on and on about this, but at this point, the thing that I want to point out is we have this indicator suite, and I could tell you that we could get support right here, which we did. We got support here again. It bounced. It rejected on the underside of this channel, and then we go down. This is the pure turnover of this wave. And so right now it very much looks like we're going to retest the underside of our epoch here, our line in the sand. If markets just really followed the news, we shouldn't be able to have an indicator that tells us, we should not be able to have an indicator that tells us where price is going. We should not be able to do technical analysis that tells us where price is going. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't track. It's not coherent. It's not logical. You would see much more erratic movement in the markets rather than us being able to say, hey, look, we've got a long premonition and a long spell. We're going to get a bounce. We get a bounce. Why is that possible? We know that. Why does this thing, if you've been around for the last month and a half, you've known that this up channel has been here the entire time. There's no reason why this thing should have gone right here. And I haven't looked at this thing, but gosh, this is on a 4-hour chart, and we just tagged this thing just almost perfectly. It doesn't make any sense. It does if you know technical analysis and understand that the markets are moving, and people are moving the markets, and the stories are secondary, but we're told the stories are primary. So the most recent story is the Jeffrey Epstein files. It's the Nvidia earnings, and we see the market bouncing right here. Now, I will say, I haven't looked at the RSI on this thing, but I will say this is a lower low. If we looked at the RSI, this very well may be a RSI divergence. If that's the case, we would expect this thing to bounce all the way back up here. Now, that would make an all-time high, and that would make a great news story. But my guess is once we made this all-time high, and that made a great news story, then everyone that was short up here will get destroyed, and we'll move back down to the downside. So it's not that this move up is fake or bad. It's just that this thing is moving in lockstep with where liquidity is at in the market. So if there's a lot of liquidity up here above this top, we should expect a move back up here. So they gather all that liquidity. Everybody that's short that's there gets stopped out. And then it moves back down. That's just the nature of the markets. The markets are going to go after where the liquidity is at, and that's the bottom line. Let's jump over to the NASDAQ 100, and this is very similar. We see a breakdown of the epoch. That's our blue line. That's our line in the sand. Are we bullish? Are we bearish? If we go all the way back here to April, we see once we broke above it, we've been bullish ever since. We've been above it ever since. We had one close right here, but it did not confirm. It got back above it, and the NASDAQ, that's where you're going to find Nvidia. Now we've broken below it. We've had an oblivion signal, which has confirmed weirdly, and this is the first time I'm actually looking at this today because I haven't been. Let me jump around to a different time frame so we can see for sure. Weirdly, Nvidia has these great earnings. The S&P blasts off, pops up, and we see the NASDAQ flat. So that should be telling. Now, I will say that we've had a premonition. We've had, it looks like we may get a spell here in the near future. So I would expect to pop up. As you can see on the NASDAQ 100, we've had the epoch cross the wave of eons, which is our purple trend indicator here. It's crossing it. This looks like we're trying to confirm a bearish downtrend, but we have to test it. That's always true when you have a pattern breakout, when you have any sort of technical analysis, and that's true with our indicators, is when we have a move in a particular direction, there will always be a test to make sure it's correct. So we have this breakdown, and now we have our blue line crossing our wave of eons, which says, hey, we think this thing is going to be in a downtrend, most likely down to this red line. But it wants to bounce first and test it just to make sure. And that's what we're looking for. So if you're a trader, not financial advice, but if you're a trader, clearly, since the indicator suite here called the absolute top of this market, right here, and we're down. And don't forget, we did that over here too on the S&P 500, right here, and we're down. We can see that we're going to get this bounce, we're going to test it, and we're going to look for another short opportunity. Even if there's no premonition or no spell, the flow of time, it's its own indicator. It works in confluence with the mystic and the foresight. But if you just wanted to play this as a retest here and take the short there, not financial advice, this is just something we do, then there's a short opportunity there. The thing about the indicator suite is that we built this for ourselves. We built it to look simple but be robust. So when you look under the hood, it has an engine that will race. And so we're very confident in that. Let's go ahead and jump over to Bitcoin, the king of the cryptos here. And if you've been around for the last few days, you know that this red line here goes all the way back to 2021. Just as a matter of technical analysis, it's really cool because you see this sell-off here, and it just tags it. Just absolutely tags it on the daily. We get a bounce. Look where it bounces, though, and this is why we're so proud of this. This is why we flex on this so much, because we bounce right back into our trend indicator, and we get the short off of it, and we get this bang. We get this move to the downside. Now, currently, we've gotten a premonition. A premonition is just as it says. It's making a premonition. It says, hey, we think something's going to happen. And the thing we think that's going to happen is a long spell. So it's one of these down here. If we get the long spell, what we expect is a bounce back up to test this line. Coincidentally, if you just follow the wave of eons down, if you follow the epoch, which is the blue line down, that's our line in the sand, if you follow that down, most likely they're going to be in this area when the bounce gets up here. So just that alone, it sells itself. Everything about the indicator suite, it really sells itself. And these are markets. Markets are quirky and all. Everything's not perfect, but this is what we think is perfect enough. And we've spent a really long time building this for ourselves, trading it for ourselves, and are super excited to offer it out to the masses, because the reason why we're doing that is clearly, we want to be able to keep developing this and keep having this as something we can have as a business, but also it helps us fight the industry, the banking industry. It helps us fight all of the whales out there who are moving the markets around. All right, let's jump over to XRP, and I wanted to go with XRP today, which we did, I think, yesterday, because we have a premonition here on the 4-hour, and it's been a little erratic. If you look at the Mystic down here, which is normally very smooth, it's been a little erratic. See back here, we got a short spell, we got some omens, we got a super signal, we got everything we needed to know, and the premonition, of course, here at the top to know that this thing was about to just completely dump out. We see it dump out, get a little pop here. We saw that coming. And now we're down here at a level of technical analysis. We got our premonition, which has not, to be clear, the premonition has not closed yet. But even when it does close, we want to see a spell happen before we turn up. That's not to say, a spell might not happen. You might get a premonition and a pop, and that's fine. If you want to play premonitions, that's fine. But we want the confluence of the long spell to be really sure about what's happening there. For the past few days, we've been looking at Lowe's Corporation for a couple of reasons. There, in our view, was a good, really short opportunity right here. We got a premonition. We got a short spell. We are above the all-time high. And this line right here is a trend line that's moving upwards that you can see in after hours. We're right into almost completely. And also there's a Fibonacci extension here. There's multiple areas of a confluence with technical analysis right here that we are up into at the moment. It's going to be really interesting to see how this thing closes out tomorrow and the next day. And also, if you play options, it will be really interesting to see how these options are pricing as far as calls and puts go. Because for as extended as this is, and the fact that it keeps pushing up, the puts are not really losing value. So that should tell us that there should be a drawback or a pullback in the market, at least a little bit, maybe down to this area right here again in the near future. We'll wait and see, though. There's no guarantees in trading. Let me make sure I looked at everything on Lowe's as far as, So, yeah, this is the thing I wanted to say. Like, we're on the 4-hour when we made these calls, but if you go to the daily, you can see now this thing looks much different on the daily. It's really getting extended here on the Mystic. No premonitions printed, but we're really up into this resistance big time. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens up in this area. We're going to follow that here on the stream. This was MasterCard. I think this is just something we had. Maybe something we had last night. I can't remember for sure. We got a premonition here on the 3-hour. So maybe yesterday at some point. We have now a long spell. And look what's happening here post-market or after hours as we're getting this pop. So it's just another way to look at the indicator suite and see its viability, see its power, see how how really simple it is to follow and use. We have integration with 3 commas. You can put your user ID and your secrets into the settings of the Mystic Spell if you want to send automation to 3 commas. Alerts are available on there, so on and so forth. So lastly, we're going to look at Nvidia, which had earnings today. Earnings beat on both fronts, on earnings and revenue. And interestingly enough, I wanted to look at the last time we saw earnings right here. So interestingly enough, on the last time we saw earnings, you would expect beating double on earnings would mean that you were going to go up. But instead, we went down and slowly climbed. And then we had this sort of like weird bull trap right here and started to fall, beat again on earnings. And now we're into this technical analysis line right here. If we go back, we can see that we're just sort of coming off this peak. There are different ways to draw this, of course. I mean, you go peak to peak here, and you can see where you got support and the bounce, which makes sense. That totally makes sense. But after this large run up, my guess this is the tariff announcement. So this is the April lows after the tariff announcements, the liberation days that we've looked at on the S&P. This huge climb and then this sell-off. That's why I think this is significant from a technical analysis standpoint. And coincidentally, we have pushed right up into it. Now, you would expect from a technical analysis standpoint that we are going to try to we're going to try to come back up in here to retest this top. Clearly this is the very top, but we're looking at testing this Heiken she top right here, or the average top. If we look at this on the flow of time, so let's take a look at our indicators. What do we see now? We see that we see a rollover here. We see the epoch climbing, and currently, again, after hours on earnings, we see this above. Let's watch to see where this is at in 2 days. Is it still above, or is it getting rejected and pushed back down? That's going to be the real key to know where Nvidia is going, and also where Nvidia goes. The market has been following, and that should give us a real cue as to which direction the market is going to go in the near term. All right, if you're ever around and want to talk in the chat, that's cool. If you want me to look at something with the Foresight indicators or technical analysis, I would love to do it. You can just drop that in the chat. You can contact us on ForesightScrolls.com. You can contact us through YouTube. You can hop in the Discord, talk there. Thanks for stopping by, and see you next time.